Have you ever visited a place that felt, well, right? A place that connects with you at a more spiritual level. For me, the recent weeks I've spent discovering this region has felt just like that. I have felt safe, protected, home even. This week I'm moving on to another region of the island of Tasmania as my journey continues. But I'm going to really miss this place. The endless and untouched beaches, some of the oldest and most fascinating forests on the planet, and roads that seem to have been designed specifically for the motorcycle rider. It's a little patch of heaven in a special part of the world. But before I leave, I want to show you something really special. I just know that you're going to enjoy this one, because quite frankly, this left me speechless. And it's something that changed my very perspective of my place in this world.
Take a peek at this. Where else in the world can you take a stroll down the coastline and suddenly be standing next to such valuable history? What you are looking at now are historically significant petroglyphs. They've been here for a long time. Some estimate them at being around 2,000 or so years old. They are a little weathered with the effects of time, sand, wind and water, but they are still viewable. You can just stroll along a shoreline and find yourself face to face with history. I do find myself pondering that if these were in any other country, they'd be protected from those who damage them, that have national significance. Geez, that even being printed on $100 bills, but here they are just left to be. They have significance to Australia, and they have massive significance to the Aboriginal peoples of the land. I'm not sure that leaving them unprotected is respectful or massively disrespectful. But I guess that's for minds more familiar with the topic to ponder. See these ones here behind me? They're about 2,000 years old. See this one? It's a few years old. You see, it was put there by a vandal. And that to me is a worry. Can the modern day inhabitants be trusted with such easy access to this? In today's era of pulling down statues that offend us, in an era that will rewrite history to suit a political agenda, in a time in which we'll desecrate the grave of a fallen soldier because he was put into a war not of his own making. Sadly, the insanity goes on in an era of rampant disrespect of heritage. Surely it's not a huge leap to expect that these two will one day fall victim to our own ignorance. And I find that thought very sad. All it takes is one person in a position of influence to say that this is inappropriate in some way. And before we know it, this amazing piece of our history is erased forever. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on the situation. I love history and I love learning of those who came before me. Anyway, let's move on. Where am I? Well, location-wise, though locally it's pretty much known where I am, I'm purposely being a little vague on this video as to my exact location because I want to show these monuments the respect that they deserve. Actually, eagle-eyed viewers may recognize the terrain from a video I did recently where I managed to drop my motorcycle. Yep, that incident I'd rather forget happened on a research trip prior to making this video. The motorcycle is fine, my ego a little less so. Okay, back to the topic at hand. There's so much more to see here if you know where to look. Now, there's something pretty special on up ahead that I'd love to show you. So I'm gonna go ahead and climb over these few rocks, probably get my feet wet, but as long as I don't fall flat on my face, I'll see you on the other side. Take a look at this. This rather unassuming hill hides a secret. It's a little hard to tell through the vegetation, but there's a dip, a depression if you like, at the top of the rise. See here? It's here. It's literally called a hut depression, and it's unique among Aboriginal populations Tasmania-wide, actually Australia-wide. You see, most of the Australian Aboriginal population lived a nomadic life. They moved around frequently. However, the Aboriginal population of this specific region did things a little differently. They stayed primarily in a specific region. They set up homes and small communities. They lived primarily off what nature provided within this specific region, which was seal pups and shellfish. Actually, anthropologists refer to the society here as a least effort society. I like that, and I find it intriguing. I believe there's been about 90 of these hut depressions found on the west coast, and usually around 3 to 6 of them banded together. And they are always located near a source of fresh spring water. They're close to the ocean, and it's an ongoing source of fresh water. Also, the hut depressions are high enough so that the peoples living in these huts could see out well into the horizon, and they could get an advance warning of anything that is in the area. This is absolutely fascinating to me. What happens if you position yourself on top of a windy hill? You get blown off, right? So a hut wouldn't stand any success, right? Wrong. Very wrong, actually. Studies have revealed that these hut depressions, in which I'm actually sitting in at the moment, and I can feel that there's hardly any wind. Just remember, there is actually meant to be a hut over this depression. And actually, interestingly, that the huts were actually built out of a tea tree plant and also put bark in them and all sorts of things to make up the hut. So you'll have to use a bit of imagination. These hut depressions actually had the effect of reducing the force wind by up to 80%. I mean, that is amazing. And even here, I can feel that it's less wind, even being down in this depression a bit. Now, This is especially amazing here on the West Coast. If you get a moment, look up the Roaring Forties on Google. Sailors have long referred to the Roaring Forties, and that's the area between 40 degrees and 50 degrees latitude south of the equator, as a particularly violent weather-wise. Yet, Aboriginal ingenuity thousands of years ago embraced it. They not only embraced it, they made it work for them. This simple, ingeniously designed hut enabled the local population to occupy the high land and keep an eye out on what's happening around them. And of course, the entrances were always from the east, out of the wind. So see these darker rocks here? They're embedded in intervals around the depression. They aren't just unique to this particular depression. You can see it replicated elsewhere. Now, historians have long suspected that they use the darker rocks as a source of thermal heat. And here, see these shells? They are called Midden Heaps. They are literally the remnants of meals eaten right here thousands of years ago. Now, how do we know this? Well, if you look at the shoreline just over there, there's any number of shells of all varieties. Here, there's just 6. They had to be carried to this location. And here, if you look carefully, you'll spot stone implements like this as a cutting tool. It's actually very, very sharp on this side. I'll just put it back. You're literally walking in the steps of one of the most fascinating civilizations anywhere. Take a peek over here, just here. 4-wheel drive tracks. So much of this stuff is gone under the wheels of thoughtless 4-wheel drivers. And that's my concern. How long do we have? How long do we have to show and talk about these amazing places before they are lost to human stupidity? Okay, one more place to go. Stick with me, you'll find this rather interesting. This area, known by its Aboriginal name of Premagana, has a story that few of us are aware of. It was finally declared in 1995 as a protected Indigenous area and was handed back to the original custodians of the land. So I'm honoured to be even able to walk along these beaches. That region of land up ahead beyond the beach was the location of a massacre that killed so many of the traditional inhabitants of this land. Nowadays we just farm beef up there, and there's also a wind farm. But the price we pay for progress is way too high. I can't show you very much of anything here, as there isn't much to be seen. Well, not anymore anyway. You see, most of it has been buried in order to protect it from, well, us. And I have to admit, I agree with them. On this site, in this location, it was perhaps one of the most significant discovery of ancient petroglyphs perhaps ever, anywhere. But unfortunately, around 60 years ago, a group of workers hacked at the petroglyphs with a large saw generally used for logging operations. They broke off significant pieces of it and dragged them back by bullet teams to the Tasmanian Museum and Art Gallery, hundreds of kilometres away. Sadly, once again, we proved that we can't be entrusted with ancient heritage. But on a more positive note, and perhaps just recently in these past weeks, 60 years on, the Tasmanian Museum has agreed to return the stolen and damaged petroglyphs to their traditional guardians. I mean, I guess that's a little bit of restitution. They are coming home again. But the damage done both physically to the petroglyphs themselves and relationship-wise with the traditional custodians, of course, may take a lot longer to fix. So, what's your thoughts on this video? Let me know in the comments section below. I opted to take a moment from my usual travels to tell this story to you because I feel the word needs to get out. What's your thoughts? Again, thank you so much for watching my video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs back, share your thoughts in the comments section below, and I'll see you on the next video.